in my ear here.
Yeah, well, not yet. It'll take a second. We'll get the YouTube stream going, and that should be going on now. And there it goes. The YouTube stream is live, and so now let's go live.
All right, we're on the air, huh, Jan? Wow,
we're on the
go
air,
for
everybody.
It.
Hey, welcome to the RoundTable, SoundBroker's RoundTable. Jan Landy here. I am your humble host. I think, as you could tell, there's a different background right now because I am getting ready to travel, and we're doing it from our traveling kit. So thanks for everybody for coming. Also, I want to make an announcement. This will be the last time we're doing this at noon on Las Vegas time. Starting next week, we will be doing it at 3 p.m., which was the old time, which last week the polls showed that everybody felt it would be better if it was 6 o'clock on the East Coast, 5 o'clock on the mid sides, and 3 o'clock on whatever it is. So anyway, how does it go from 3 to 5 and not 3 to 4? It goes 3, 5, and 6. Does anybody have an answer for that?
There is a place where it's 4, isn't it?
I don't think so.
There better be. Isn't that how the whole thing works?
I don't know. Why is it 6 o'clock on the East Coast?
I think the more important question is, why is it a half hour in some places in Australia?
Maybe the places are bigger, and they just, or smaller for that matter. I don't know.
But to change by a half hour, that's odd.
Which brings me to my next point. Which brings me just in introducing the show, and that is everything you hear is an opinion. So if you really want to find out if it's true or false, do your own research, okay? So we're just here to have fun and discuss why things are happening, how they affect our industry. Why? I don't know. So that answers that question. It's a short show today.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my world clock program here, and you're right. It goes from Los Angeles 12:07 to Dallas 2:07 to Nashville 2:07 to New York 3:07. There's no 1:07 anywhere. And Phoenix is 12:07 also, and that's pretty far east of us. Huh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I think
what time is it in Chicago? It's an hour difference from here.
That's got to be Dallas. Is that not the same as Dallas? Let's ask Mr. World Clock.
I'm about 2 hours north of Chicago. We're 2:08 here.
2:08.
Yeah, Chicago says 2:08, so it's 2 hours also. So I don't think there's anywhere where it's 1 hour. Let's try Colorado. What about Colorado?
There you go. This is really interesting. This is for those people watching on YouTube and Facebook. I am sure right now you're wishing you're in the room.
Oh, there you go. Denver 108. Denver 108. Okay, so there you go. So there is an in between. What's that called? Mountain time or something?
Yeah, it's called mountain time.
Okay,
mountain
there you
time.
go. So we unlocked the key.
Where 6 people live.
Oh.
Well, speaking of Denver, I think Denver is pretty cool, but the reality is in Denver right now, marijuana is legal. And right now, for the first time, the United States Senate is going to move to legalize marijuana, and it looks like it's going to pass. So marijuana is probably
federally. Yeah, see, if it's federally, that's going to change a lot of things, because you know how those dispensaries have to deal in cash or something because they can't use a bank account. That's so cute, Steve. So
they're not allowed to use a bank account because the banks are federally governed.
Exactly. So if it becomes federally okay, then that's going to change a lot of things, financially speaking, for all those places that are already selling marijuana.
Yeah, and Portland's a pretty big thing, and Seattle and Washington. Kurt, what do you have to say about this? Because you look like you're ready to get in there.
I couldn't get the audio to work, but finally figured it out. I'm on a show with bad Wi-Fi. Yeah, it's legal, and you can definitely tell it's the gig I'm at.
I'm curious to know about the show, because in the back, it looks like excavation of, like something I would see on a crime show.
It was set up to be a drive-in, but that restriction's gone. So where the cars were going to be, they've outlined like zones that you are occupying instead of where you were going to park your car. But when they sold the tickets and everything, it was, you're going to actually drive your car up. So this would have been a bunch of cars behind me.
Oh, very cool.
What's the gig, Kurt? Can you tell us who the performers are? And he froze. His Wi-Fi just
Well,
went
whatever.
boom.
Hey, it's a gig.
He was
A
right.
gig
It's
is a
crappy
gig.
Wi-Fi.
A gig is a gig. A gig is a
Really
gig.
crappy Wi-Fi.
And that's all there is. So speaking of gigs, Montrose Jazz Festival in Switzerland closed its 55th edition from July 2nd to July 17th with 40,000 attendees and 0 positive corona cases recorded throughout the event. So that is a positive thing. And that could happen here in the United States, except right now we're getting battered by this COVID, the Delta variant of COVID. But I've got some amazing news for you guys. Amazing news. It just announced that, do you guys know who Steve-Las is? He was the guy that got shot at the ball game. He's like the third man in charge or the second man in charge of the Republicans in the Congress. Anybody know who he is? Duh. Remember the guy that got shot playing softball?
Yeah, nice guy. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, nice guy. Yeah, right. Well, we'll leave the opinion of whether he's a nice guy or not. But he did get COVID. And now with the Delta variant, he went out and got vaccinated. And now he's touting the fact that he got vaccinated, and he's recommending to everybody that they get vaccinated. And he is like the third highest guy in the Republican Party. Yesterday, Sean Hannity actually said something about getting vaccinated. So we might really be at a turn, because if people don't get vaccinated, this Delta variant is like a zillion times more powerful than the normal variant. Now, also, for those people who got shot with Johnson & Johnson or the Sinovac, they're saying that that's not as effective. So the most effective thing that we could do right now is get everybody vaccinated in this country. And if we can do that, then we shouldn't have any problem whatsoever with COVID. It'll be yesterday's news. What are you guys hearing out there? Anybody?
There's a tour that is now requiring people to wear masks that are working. That's the first time that's happened. And that before it was like, everybody just on the tour had to be vaccinated. Now everybody while they're working has to wear a mask. So that's not good.
That's not good that everybody has to wear a mask?
No, it's not good that all of a sudden we've gone from just having vaccinated people to now vaccinated people having to wear masks.
Yeah,
Well,
but that's only
so
because
is it
of the
because
Delta
of
No, that's
think-
the departure. That's
Jack, do you think it's
variant.
maybe because they're dealing with local crew that's not
It
vaccinated?
is absolutely because of local crew. But the fear now is the variants, et cetera, which is not a good thing.
Kenny, you've got a gig coming up in New York, right? At the Javits Center.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about the COVID regulations relating to it. So I'm expecting that I'm going to get tested when I get there or something, and I'm going to need to wear a mask all the time. I'm assuming it's at the Javits Center with the IBEW, and so I'm just assuming it's a mask gig needed,
Right. Well, I think it's important. And by the way, there are things happening. Like, did you guys hear about the woman in Napa who was arrested because she was falsifying COVID-19 vaccine cards? So she was selling false vaccination cards. I mean, really, good God,
Well, well, people are convinced, very strongly convinced that the vaccine is not a good thing. They're really strongly convinced that. I see that all over my Facebook, feed. There's people talking about how they're not going to get the jab. No way. Why would they want to get that jab? Oh man, no way. It's bad.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And they're not kidding. And they're smart people. They're just totally brainwashed by whoever's out there talking about how bad it is.
Well, that's why I'm saying that the Steve Scalise business is really effective, because not only did he announce it, but Sean Hannity announced it now. And I think we're going to see a turn, because what's happening right now in Arkansas, Missouri, all of those red states down south where people are now filling up the hospitals, and the people that are filling up the hospital are young. There are children in the hospital right now on ventilators. And they're getting so many of these people from down there that have caught COVID. Like I heard a horrible story about this couple. They refused to get vaccinated because they were hearing this, that of all the possibilities that could go wrong, they could become stupid. They could become, infected with a chip. And anyway, so they were pregnant. They both got COVID. They both ended up on ventilators. She lost the baby, and they both lived. And now they're just proselytizing the fact that, hey, get that shot. So more and more people. I think that if you ask me, if I didn't want to get the shot, and believe me, I did get the shot, because you can't leave the country unless you do have both your vaccinations. You can't, like I'm going to Thailand in a little while. Not only did I have to have both my vaccinations, but before I left, 72 hours before, I had to get a COVID test. And when I arrive, I'm going to get another COVID test. So, I mean, other countries are taking this very serious with the vaccination, but the more people that start coming around, and the way it's going to happen is not because of them, but because of their children. I think that we're going to see a big turn. And that's why I think Sean Hannity changed his tune. And that's why Steve Scalise is changing his tune. And if we can get more of those ilk people and Fox News starting to say, hey, get vaccinated to stay alive, I think it'll change everything.
One person that would really help would be Tucker Carlson. If Tucker Carlson would change his tune a bit, and for that matter, Rand Paul. Did you see the debate in what was it, Congress or somewhere?
It was at the Senate, because he's
the Senate. Yeah,
he's
it was
a senator,
a hearing,
so with
and
Fauci.
with Dr. Fauci and Rand Paul. I mean, as much as Rand Paul is probably a smart, nice, great guy, and probably represents the people really well and everything, he was spouting off things that Dr. Fauci totally disagreed with. And sorry, but I kind of believe, I 100% believe Dr. Fauci.
Well, Fauci said in that meeting, if you saw it, he just said, I'm going on the record to say, you don't know what you're talking about. That's what he said.
It's unfortunate that people in that position of power, or the position of, the people will listen to them, they're influencers. And influencers speak, they say something that maybe, like Dr. Fauci says, you don't know what you're talking about. And you say that, and it influences a lot of people. And here we have a continuation of the pandemic. It's too bad.
It is, because the economy is heating up right now. Everything seems to be good. Consumer prices jumped 5.4%.
That's
from June
inflation.
Of last year.
Yeah.
Inflation, right? That's
no.
bad,
This
right?
is consumer prices going up, not inflation.
What's consumer prices?
And by the way, consumer prices, well, actually, you're right. Consumer prices jumped 5.4%. You're right, 100%.
And inflation's up 5% from,
It's inflation is out of
ago.
control. It's out of control.
And
just
it's
look at the real estate
accelerating at its
market
fastest
and the automobile market. The automobile market and the real estate market are going crazy. And try to get a rental car for a reasonable price. Forget
88%,
about
according to this article, consumer prices, cars and truck rental prices went up 88%. Women's dresses went up 16%. Indoor plants 5%. And then Jerome Powell, who's the Fed chair, said he expects this inflation could be a one-time price increase as the economy rebounds, but for lower income consumers, a spike in the price of milk, meat, or clothing can make a big difference. By the way, the secret stimulus, a supercharged tax credit, went out this week, and the U.S. government started sending out parents monthly checks for $300 a piece or something like that each month. The rest of 2021, eligible parents can expect between $250 and $300 per kid, depending on their age. So 39 million households will receive payments covering 88% of U.S. children. And the pandemic stimulus check boosted spending to go to chains like Walmart's, Costco, TJ Maxx, Target, and the monthly child allowance could provide a similar boost to family favorite retails. So I don't see anything in here for concert tickets, unfortunately. But
you just look at the price of gasoline to put gasoline in your car. It's gone up noticeably. It went from fill up my car for $40 to fill up my car for $55. Yeah, it's big.
Yeah.
So,
The
Jan,
price of gas is driven by speculation. It's not driven by, supply and demand.
Normal inflation, yeah. Okay.
So I spent the
And
last 2
inflation
weeks.
is only measured in with using numbers out of certain sectors. It isn't like across the board. It's,
Yeah. Well, also,
Yours is $8, but guess what? If you looked at where lumber is currently trading, that $8 is reflected on where past. It's not reflected on current. So you got to kind of temper some numbers in order to trying to get a real gauge of where the economy is and headed.
Yeah. Well, one thing I will say
smart.
is that they said that the ransomware thing on that pipeline, and yesterday I forgot what organization made an announcement for the second time to all people that are running pipeline and gas to watch out for ransomware. Be really super careful, because that will affect the price of gasoline as well if the pipeline starts to get affected.
So plane tickets and hotels have gone up substantially too. I spent the last 2 weeks on the road, and your average $120 a night place is around very close to 200 now, which is what I was spending for Best Western Plus, the new Plus, which is actually pretty nice actually. And I was down in San Diego working, and I usually stay at a courtyard in Rancho Bernardo, and I usually pay about $130 a night. It was $220 the last week when I was down there. So, and my plane ticket the last year that I was working, I made 5 trips to Austin. My plane ticket was like $450 round trip. This 2 weeks ago, it was $650. So, bend over.
That's not a good sign. And by the way, it's all Biden's fault in a lot of people's opinion. I'm not sure if it is personally, but a lot of people are saying that's the current presidency's fault that all these prices are going up. I happen to think it's more related to the COVID pandemics and people having been out of work for so long and businesses having not had income for so long that they're just taking advantage of it now.
To a degree, but you know what I found was really interesting? When we went to the Marriott in Salt Lake for the wedding, we were there 4 nights, and they had like no staff. The people behind the desk were bringing us up towels. Nobody cleaned the rooms. And I asked them, I said, is this a COVID thing why you're not cleaning the rooms? And they said, well, it started out like that, but now we just don't have enough staff. And the manager was doing room service. And then as we traveled, we went to Tahoe for about 4 days, and then we went to Sacramento for a couple of days and then came back. Everybody is incredibly shorthanded, all the restaurants, and nobody's nobody has enough staff. And when I was talking to the Marriott guy, he said that they had put out advertisements in all the local papers and all the normal places to get help, and they are not even getting phone calls or nothing, no return calls for jobs that they're posting. So something's going, I don't know what's going on.
Why is that? Is that because people got tired, got lazy while they were not allowed to work?
But every time I changed hotels, I asked them the same question, and I got the same answer in 4 different states and 4 different hotels. I couldn't believe it.
And what was the answer? Did you ask them why, or did you just ask them why it was short-staffed, or why they couldn't get any staff?
I could tell you what they thought was the reason, which you could either agree or disagree with. But when I said why, everybody said, why would anybody go back to work when they don't have to work because they're getting unemployment? Now, that's what they said to me. Now, there's a little bit of that.
Yeah, but that's BS.
And there's a little bit of not to that. Because to be honest with you, I can't live on unemployment, and I can't wait till I get back to work because that's what I do. That's my life. It's not hanging around, doing nothing.
Well,
but did you raise your rates?
No.
Like the hotel or the airlines or anything?
No. If those charges, like if I started having to pay for my hotel room, or if I started having to pay for something that was noticeally more, I would talk to my people that I'm working for about raising my rates.
Well, I pay for my rooms when I travel, and I usually the client books the room, but I end up putting it on my credit card and billing them back, and plane flights too, which I technically, I guess I kind of prefer that because it lets me have control over things. But
that's good and everything, but they reimburse you, so it's not like it's out of your pocket.
No, it's not out of my pocket, but I'm just telling you what I'm finding, because since I am paying for it, I'm in a different position. I can actually stand and talk to them about the price of things and why this or why that,
I would have to say
none of us here in production seem to be able to raise our prices.
Okay, so here's what I found. a third of my work that I've gotten, which is not much, of course, in the last, month and a half that I've booked, a third of it, I've actually had to wiggle a little bit because they're like, well, we don't have much audience. Not a lot of people are paying. Can you work a little deal with us? And so I worked a little deal with them, right? Like,
so you have to go down with your rate. Your rate has to go down a little bit.
I'm doing the auction in Monterey next month. And, we made a deal because the whole thing shrunk so much. But now here's the other side of it. Two of my regular clients, not a problem. I'm doing regular rates. And the show that I have coming up next month, they offered me $100 a day more than what I charged them. And I think,
that's because your rate, historically, I think your rate's lower than what you're worth personally. So they are just trying to pay you what you're worth.
I guess, but I just thought it was, I thought this was pretty damn high though.
Well, that's good timing for them to be paying you what you're worth. That's great.
Yeah. So, it's about a third is the same, a little bit. Some people are more and, a few people are less.
But Jack is pointing out that as you as a company cannot charge more to your clients. Is that right, Jack?
Correct. It's like there's other industries that are charging more, and all of us are facing customers that are telling us that they need the deal.
Yeah, they cannot or will not pay more money, to which I said, well, you paid for more insurance, you paid more for Porta-Johns, and you paid more for security. So guess what, Cupcake? You're paying me more too.
So there's no money left for you, is what they're trying to say.
Basically, that's what it comes down to, is everybody else was in line first, and now I'm deciding which of my clients to fire.
An interesting
80-20 rule.
Everybody who calls me right now, the first thing they want to do is negotiate the price. Everything, whatever it is, they want to negotiate the price. And I can't raise my price yet. I went in to get my nails done, and they raised the price from normally it was like $60, and then all of a sudden she said, well, it's 75 today. Nothing I could do about it. My pool guy raised his rate from 120 to 140. Nothing I can do about it except I changed pool guys, found the guy for $100. So you can move around in that respect. But the reality is that there is some things going on. I'm going to share a story with you. While going through this, the dilemma of getting a certificate of entry to go into Thailand, I was dealing with this guy at the Thai embassy who was in charge of the visa program. And one day I called him up and I said to him, hey, did you hear anything about it? And he says to me, no, didn't they get back to you? I said, no. He says, I'm so frustrated, I'm quitting my job. And I said, really? What makes you so frustrated? And he says, I'm suicidal. And then all of a sudden I had to stop and talk this guy down off a ledge so that he wouldn't kill himself. And in this conversation, what he said to me, and this is what you guys maybe don't realize, is that we are fortunate that we love what we're doing. Every one of us loves what we're doing. He is doing a job that he hates. And so he said to me that he's been reading articles that up to 90% of people working right now are thinking about making a change and looking for other jobs. So
I heard that too. Yeah, I heard that too.
The other thing I could say is that it doesn't help when California, for example, California lawmakers on Thursday, or last week on Thursday, they approved, and maybe you guys in California know something about this. California lawmakers on Thursday approved the first state-funded guaranteed income plan in the U.S., $35 million for monthly cash payments to qualified pregnant people and young adults who recently left foster care with no restrictions on how they spend it. I mean, what's going on in California over there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Crazy.
I don't know, but I don't live in California. I'm not pregnant and I'm not young, so I don't care.
There you go. There you go.
So I have a question.
But if it's a sign of things to come in the rest of the country, that's not great.
Come to Kansas. We're as backwards as the rest of the mofos.
Okay.
So I was in a meeting the other day, and what I'm hearing from some people too, and you guys can probably relate to this, and you're, just my window here, you guys are all over the country, so this is really cool. What I heard in the meeting is people are changing the way they budget things too, because in the old days, once you decided you were going to do the show as a company, as a sound company or whoever, you get maybe 50% up front and the rest of it later. Well, in the corporate world, you're going through 19 different versions of drawings and, all this other kind of crap. And then what I've started to see with some of my people that hire me is, we're like a month out and they go with another vendor because, they're doing it cheaper. They decide that they're going to use the in-house people or some whatever excuse they have for whatever the gig is. So what I've started to see is people are, if it's $100,000 show, let's just say, once you get to a certain point where you've done one drawing and you've talked about a budget, there's a charge. So they're starting to charge people as they go along, like a fifth and a fifth and a fifth, so that when they back out a month before the show and you've done, 3 days worth of drawings and all this production time and everything else, at least you have some money towards that, for the work that you've done so far. And that, I don't know about you guys, but I don't know that that's ever happened before. And I'm starting to see that now.
Are you talking about that as a freelancer you're doing that, or the
not as
companies
a
are doing that?
freelancer, but, a lot of times you and I will work for AV companies or sound companies,
Sure.
but we're still working on budgets. I see all the budgets. I talk about gear and all that stuff. And when I was at a couple meetings, I'm starting to hear that that's what's happening. Doesn't affect me directly because that's not how, you and I, we go do a gig and we send them a bill at the end.
I thought unless this company's a really small time, like mom and pop kind of, oh yeah, sure, we're gonna do that show. I thought that all companies charged the deposit and then more money as time went on.
Yeah, but it's a question of when you get that deposit, Ken.
Right.
And what Bruce is talking about is putting 120 man hours into something before you even get any kind of an agreement from the client that they then back out on. The concept of charging a design fee is not unheard of in the installation world, particularly where it's not a design build project. I'm going to design your system, I'm going to design your install, and I'm charging a fee for that no matter who bids on it or whether it gets built or not. Makes no difference to me. You're paying me for my deliverable. So now what Bruce is saying is, if you're going to put out a deliverable a week, whether it's one page from an Excel spreadsheet or whether it's 20, C-size drawings, there needs to be a bill that goes out with that every day, every time you turn out a deliverable, because it's the only way you're going to get paid for it if they change vendors. It may be the only way you get paid for it, even if they don't change vendors. I'm very cynical right now, in case you can't tell.
So, Tim, have you started to see that yourself?
Say again, Bruce?
Have you started to see that yourself, or have you been thinking about that, or what, you obviously, you see a side to this also. Have you started to experience this also?
What I'm getting back is pushback from one particular client right now who called me today and said, oh, by the way, the show we booked you for is now coming in self-contained. Oh, and by the way, they need your line array towers. So I'm saying, yeah, well, they rent for the same price as we do a show.
Well, that makes sense.
And I'm not backing down from that.
And I'm guessing that your client is then going to say, well, we'll get a different vendor.
Well, good luck getting a different vendor. Anybody who's capable of doing what we're doing in my market is working.
Yeah, there's a lot of work right now. I'm seeing a lot of work. Jack, what are you saying? I mean, as far as, were you guys doing the Foo Fighters? Because that just got postponed, right? Because one of the team members got COVID.
Yes.
We're going to open up the Englewood, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the forum. Yeah.
But there is a lot of work. There's a ton of work out there all of a sudden. But to Tim's point, you're absolutely right. People will cancel at the last moment. And, oh, by the way, read a producer's contract where it says, oh, if I pay you a deposit and if I cancel within a certain amount of time, I get my deposit back.
Has that been the case all along, or is that just the new contracts?
That's the new contract.
My contract.
Sucks. I wouldn't sign that.
That's the 2021, screw you.
Yeah, the contracts I send out now say advance fees paid are not refundable.
Right.
Period.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at some of the shows that are coming up, and it seems like a lot of shows. Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga, they're going to be doing. They're going
For
back
real?
to radio. Yeah, they're going back to Radio City Music.
Yeah. I'm going out
so-
with both of them next week, Jan. Sure. Yeah.
Dave
I'm not
Matthews.
Eighth Day. I'm not Claire Brothers here. I'm a regional. With an $800,000 inventory.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I love that they're going out. Does me no fucking good whatsoever.
Well, it
I'm
might
happy to
be
hear that
those-
Tony Bennett is going to perform again, though. That's great.
Yeah, because
But
it's good
all,
for you
all
because
the
Manilow
local
might do it.
work is being, there's a lot of smaller festivals and that type of stuff that's sprouting up like crazy. That to you, Tim, you're going to get that work.
Oh, and I've got contracts on some of them already.
Right.
But it's once again, the stock market is not the economy, and nor are international touring artists representative of the world most of us live in.
Yeah. But having said that, also Dave Matthews is going up, and I'll tell you one show that will affect you, or it should affect you, because Farm Aid is just announced that they're doing it again, and Willie Nelson, Neil Young, John Mellencamp, Dave Matthews, Tim Reynolds, they're going to be doing Farm Aid, so that was just announced. Kate Brown's Blessed tour is hitting the road. Phoebe Bridgers, she's doing a tour, going all over the country. Harry Styles is just announced his tour. Basically, Dave Matthews, like I said, he's going out on the road. So there's a lot of shows going out right now, and when the more shows that go out, the more work is for everybody.
I would
You
say
want the
that
bad
it
news?
sounds like a
It's
lot
not
because
long.
it's a lot compared to nothing, but it's not a lot compared to what's the normal, right? Wouldn't you agree, Jack?
Absolutely. And none of that stuff is long-term, and nobody seems to be gearing up for October, November. I don't remember hearing a lot about, fall tours. Fall used to be the second biggest touring season. And it doesn't look that way right now, because anybody that was thinking about going out in the fall goes, I'll go out next year.
No kidding.
That's going to affect all of us.
The big comeback shows that are booked in the 16,000 seat arena in my market. Obviously, we're not working any of them. They're all tours. But really, there's only a couple of big ones. There's I want to say Jason Aldean, although it may be somebody else of his stature. And then like Backstreet Boys between now and the end of the year. Now there's some other things in there, but those are the only two things of any size. And so I definitely agree with that observation that there's not a lot of A-level national or international touring that's starting before probably 2022. And like I said, that stuff does me no good, except working as a stagehand. I can go in as a rigger, but pulling points at age 63 is not my idea of a good day.
No.
Just be the ground guy.
No.
That's what I do.
Well, I
Right,
take
good
it.
for you.
I take it you're not one of those. I take it you're not one of those people now that bought. Check this out. There's a tour. It's called the World Cruise. It's on a ship. It's a 132 night World Cruise, $74,000 per guest, and it's sold out within 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I take it you're not on that cruise, Tim.
Not unless they want me pumping bilge water.
$74,000, 132.
Yeah. Oh,
Wow.
Jan, I thought you were taking
How
me.
many
That was
how
your
many
relocation
passengers?
gift. You're leaving
I'm just
Vegas.
taking the pool boy. I'm taking my pool boy. Forget that.
Oh,
Boy, did I pick a
yeah.
wrong occupation.
Oh my god. So let me ask you this. Let's talk about two subjects. You're talking about shows that are happening and stuff. Broadway and Vegas. What's happening there? Anybody know?
Well, Vegas is opening up, but they just made an announcement that everybody's got to go back to wearing masks. So that's
show wise,
happening.
you think the shows are still happening? The audience will be wearing masks,
Bruno
and
Mars
the
just
stage
announced-
people will not.
Bruno Mars announced that he's doing some stuff, and so now to get people vaccinated here, they're doing they're giving away all sorts of contests. Like you can win ticket if you get vaccinated, you get put in a pool where you could get tickets to Bruno Mars or a boxing match or see the Raiders.
But the question is, they're not requiring vaccination in order to get into these shows, though, or anything like that, are they?
No. There's no.
Because I had heard, and I'm not sure if it's true, but I'd heard that they were requiring vaccination to attend the Bruce Springsteen show on Broadway, and I don't know if that's still true. Is that still true, Tim?
As far as I know, and that is a requirement imposed by the artist.
Yeah. Well, that's New York. And so New York, of course, is, they really did a very good job. And they were one of the first people to get COVID under control. California, San Francisco, that area, was really good. I believe also the state of Washington did a good job on that. Kurt, was Washington one of the first to get rid of the mask mandates?
I think so. Yeah, we were I know Seattle was the first major city to get over the percentage that allowed them to drop the mandates in restaurants and stuff like that. You still see it mostly in the grocery store, though.
Now, are you seeing any recurrence over there where they're saying, okay, it's time for putting on masks again?
Hasn't gotten there yet. There's a little bit of talk about it on the news that mandate could come back depending on numbers and all that kind of stuff, but nothing's been announced or anything like that.
And you're in the Seattle area, Kurt?
Yeah, well, today I'm in Portland, but yeah, I'm normally in Seattle.
Oh, interesting.
We got somebody above you. Andrew Hope's in the room. I mean, he could tell us what's going on in Canada right now. What's happening up there? Are you in Canada, or are you someplace more exotic to get out of Canada?
I'm in exotic Montreal.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello everybody. Been a little while since I sort of managed to drop in and say hello. So what's happening up here? Well, we're starting to schedule concerts. We recently got news that our government is allowing our American friends to cross the border into Canada by road again, starting on August 15th. But the American government has not made any statement as to whether we'll be able to go in the same direction. Air travel for people who are properly double vaccinated is sort of okay. You have to get tested within 24 hours of leaving. You have to get tested at the airport as you leave. You have to get tested within 24 hours of coming back, and you have to get tested at the airport when you land. But if you go through all of that, you don't have to quarantine or do anything else. We've got a major outdoor and indoor events that are supposed to happen in Quebec City later on in the summer, and they're looking at that as some kind of a test. So I'm not quite sure what the protocol is going to be, but our understanding is that people who go to those events, and they're going to allow 20,000 people together, et cetera, people who go to those events are going to get tested before and after, or what, sort of like they did in Germany. To kind of go, okay, we had this event, we let all you in. What did we do to you in the process? And we're starting to see shows scheduled at the Bell Center. I'm not sure what the capacity is. I'm sure it's not full, but it's better than 2,500 at the last hockey game. Overall, I think we're going to see quite a lot of outdoor events this summer. The biggest slowdown for everybody right now still appears to be the overall unpredictability and the inability to get any kind of cancellation or loss insurance. But apart from that, our vaccination, we were lagging behind in terms of vaccinations. And in Canada now, I believe we're actually, in terms of overall percentage of people, population vaccinated, we're actually ahead of the US now. And it seems to be moving forward pretty well. And our government is looking for 70% of the population completely vaccinated before they really kind of back off on things. So, still uncertain, but better than it has been, and much more light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's hopeful. It's. Yeah. I think there is some hope. Canada came back late compared to us, right? Do you know what the vaccination rate is on your population?
Okay, right now it's really, really good. We were slow getting started because we don't manufacture any vaccines in Canada, or at least we didn't at that point. So we were sort of dependent on holding our hands out to our friends around the world. But in the last months, as I said, we've surpassed the US in sort of percentage of the population vaccinated, and vaccines are available for everybody. If you wanted to, you could literally walk into a no appointment clinic now, and you could walk out vaccinated with your choice of vaccine 15 minutes later. And that's quite recent. And to Canadians, we haven't really made it into a political issue. I mean, we have some kind of fringy anti-vax people, but on the whole, the majority of the population is getting vaccinated. So we're not seeing so many nasty variants and stuff like that pop up here as people are seeing in other places as well.
Well, that's great. That's great. That's really
See,
good.
I knew those Canadians were smarter than us.
Well, they're smarter than the Japanese, evidently, because what's going on with the Olympics? I mean, I heard that it would be more costly for them to cut the Olympics out, like stop the Olympics. But right now is something like what, 70 people have come down with COVID in the Olympic Village. I mean, is
Well,
anybody
and
watching any of
that
the games?
percentage wise, that's not that high really, because there are how many people in the Olympic Village? 11,000 or something. It's a very high number compared to the number of infected people. So as much as we don't want any, we want zero infections. Having 70 or 100 people infected is not a huge percentage, is what I was hearing. Would anybody hear any more about that?
Nope, I haven't. But I mean, I have YouTube TV, and so they flash something on my screen of all the Olympic events that they're televising, and that I could actually watch it in 4K if I want to pay another $20 a month, which I decided not to. But the reality is that they've broken down the Olympic Games by category: archery, basketball, volleyball, whatever they have, And so you could choose what so you don't have to record all of the games. You could actually just record what it is you want to see. And I'm just curious, going around the room, how excited are we about seeing the Olympics? Is anybody really, in this room jumping up and down saying, wow, the Olympics?
I don't think anyone's even thinking about it unless they're an athlete or their kid is.
The only one that's at all interesting to me is the women's gymnastics, because what's her name? Simone Biles is just so spectacular as an athlete. There's nothing she can't do, and it's just amazing to watch her do her thing.
But as an event, I don't think anyone's really talking about it or anticipating it as an event the way historically it would have been, right?
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
I think it's a big a letdown that there's nobody going to be there to cheer these people on. And I would think that the audience crowd, just like a performer doing a show, when you get the adulation of the audience and they're cheering and they're yelling your name, you perform at a higher level.
Your adrenaline pumps that much harder when you hear that. Yeah, and you're going to perform that much better as an athlete. I see that there's going to be some disappointing, performances because of that.
I think there was a palpable lack of enthusiasm for the Olympics this year anyway, and I think that was before COVID. I mean, now granted, I have a pretty small and maybe inferior social circle, but by and large, nobody I knew was going, "Oh, the Olympics! Oh, the Olympics!" It's like, "Oh, the Olympics is in Japan." I wonder if the age of that spectacle, or at least the patina of spectacle, has finally waned a bit on it.
Well, I could tell you from a financial aspect, the only Olympic that ever made any money was that Olympic in Los Angeles back in the 80s with David Wolper producing it. And ever since then, they haven't made any money. I mean, I'm sure people make money on it, but as far as the Olympic Organizing Committee making money or the cities making money, I think it's become a lose-lose situation, whereas they're spending more money for the infrastructure. Like an example, in Brazil, they built all these stadiums to hold all these soccer matches. Like, for example, they built a multi-million-dollar soccer arena in the Amazon, and now that is just overrun with weeds, so they never got to use it. So
wasn't there something in the paper today about Brisbane getting awarded the Olympics?
Yeah, because they were the only one who applied.
They were the only bid. And when has that ever happened?
Yeah.
Wow, that says something right there. There's only one country or one city bidding on the Olympics.
Yeah,
wow.
We can't even give it away.
Yeah, they can't even give it away.
Well,
That's
it just
right.
goes to show you. It just goes to show you we're in a different era. I mean, it's the era of commercialization and politicization of everything, and we just aren't. We as the world society are not as interested in Olympic performances as we used to be 50 to 100 years ago, right?
I would say you're right, but I would say it's not only the Olympics. How many people watch the space, the escapades of Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson? I mean, I don't know. I mean,
That's reality. That's reality TV. Come on.
I gotta say, that Bezos, I mean, they launched the rocket yesterday. They put 4 people in a capsule without a pilot on that thing to the edge of space. And that was a pretty daring thing to do. It's not just like, oh yeah, it's going to happen. It's like driving from here to the store. No, it's very complicated, right? They made that all happen, and it wasn't even on the news at 11 o'clock last night. It wasn't even on the news. I was like, what? It's not even on the news? I had to rewind back to the 7 o'clock news to hear the story about it. It was really amazing that it wasn't. It didn't even make the news.
It's kind of a billionaires, my rocket is bigger than yours contest.
Oh, totally. Especially considering what that Blue Origin rocket looks like.
You can anthropomorphize.
You've been sending people to space all along, ever since Alan Shepard got in. So space is no longer this big thing that it used to be. You send up rockets all the time to the space station with people in it. They're going up, they're coming back.
We don't talk about that. Yeah, we don't, and that doesn't make the news. No, but this being unpiloted, there was nobody in charge of the control of it other than automation, I guess, or something. And it was a private industry type thing instead of being a government thing or whatever. NASA or even SpaceX. It wasn't one of those normal companies. It was a new company, and it was the first time humans went in one of their rockets. It was a pretty bold thing to do, to send your main dude and his brother and 2 other people in a capsule to outer space or inner space or whatever, to space, and then it just doesn't get any. It just shows how jaded we are, I guess. I don't know. It's weird.
There's a couple of cool things about that. The oldest person and the youngest person went up in that. The older person, the woman, she was in the astronaut program at NASA, but they never put her in up. And so
because they said women weren't allowed at that time. That women weren't allowed is what I heard on the news report. I'm like, really? Women weren't allowed? Okay, that's bizarre. What are we, in 1920? Something that was bizarre. But anyway, she wasn't allowed to pursue being an astronaut. She was in the astronaut program, though. Anyway, and she was there, 82 years old and 18 years old, the physics student, and then the 2 Bezos brothers. Pretty amazing, if you ask me.
And there's 2 things that really amaze me about that. Number one is that the guy that bought the $28 million ticket to sit next to Bezos couldn't go up due to a scheduling problem. What kind of
scheduling problem? Wait, what are we talking about here? What scheduling problem?
You kind of think you would have put that in your calendar on your iPhone,
The guy's scheduling problem or a Blue Origin scheduling problem?
No, the guy, he bought it. He realized he had a scheduling problem.
He had a scheduling problem? What, he was given birth that day or something? What?
They won't say what his scheduling problem was. It could be his scheduling problem is that, he couldn't find a pair of underwear that would hold his stains when he went, from fear of going up in this
my goodness,
space capsule.
Listen, before I forget, I got to ask Jack a question. Jack, do you know anything about the Central Park concert in August?
No.
Okay, great. Just wanted to ask, since you're in that gang now, and your company is all part of the biggest company in the world and all that.
And to go back to the biggest thing in the world and stuff like that. The other thing that I think why it didn't get covered in the news is because, I don't know about you, but that rocket ship looks so phallic. It looked like
that's what I was saying. It was like that they're having a competition about their manhood size.
It was like, whoa, what is that? Is that a penis going up?
You should watch Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert, the day after that launch. It was very funny.
Him and Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart did a 3-minute video about that. That he was sending the biggest dick up into space. So. That was quite humorous, And on the other side, on one more little quick story that is really cool, Jeep announced the other day that they're building a Jeep that will drive underwater. Is that not too cool? That you will actually be able to buy a Jeep that you could drive in and go underwater with.
If you live on any coast at all, in the next 5 years or so, that'll probably be a necessity because your lot is going to be under the ocean.
What's its power source? However, do you happen to know, John?
No, it didn't. They didn't say. Yes. Shark powered. Because it's Shark Week. That's why they announced it. You know,
Because
Once
I
again, just
gather
because
that,
you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
right. I mean, I'm thinking, the future is, I guess, electric powered vehicles or non-oil based power. And so I'm thinking that that Jeep, their power source is going to have to be waterproof. Also, that'll be interesting.
yeah. Isn't that cool? I don't know how that affects our entertainment industry, but I guess we maybe could be able to put concerts on the water that you could drive to in your own Jeep, Don't know. Also, I want to share with you some news. So this is, news that you could actually use. SoundBroker, of course, we keep records of what the most active listing is on our website with the hundreds of thousands of items we have. And I thought I would share with you right now what is the most popular stuff on our website. So the number one thing is the Meyer Power Combo, which is the Ultra X40 and the 750 LSC system. So it's like on poles, a system on poles. Apex 2420, the stage line 265. Another stage line, actually 3 stages, then the Digicode S21, a Meyer Melody sound system, another SL stage line stage, the EAW KF600 enclosure. Wow, that's got 73 views this week. So that is pretty cool.
Things are popping when people are looking at a 20-year-old point and shoot rig.
Yep. Well, there's not a lot of money out there for gear right now, and a lot of the new gear is hard to come by right now, super hard to come by because of the chip shortage, which we've covered in the past. So, the other thing is that Avid is officially retiring now and turning off their service at the end of this month or the end of August. I'm not sure if it's July or August. No more service, no more parts from Avid for any of the SC48 or any of the Venue series. So
it must have been discontinued 7 years ago, huh?
Yeah. Yep. That's it. So your
only source for those parts is going to be SoundBroker.com.
Well, I'm trying to make a deal with them right now on getting all of their inventory, but they're telling me they'd rather throw it in the garbage, because they can get more money if they write it off than if they sell it.
No kidding. That's true, huh? How interesting.
Better get my parts order in tomorrow.
The most important thing, if you should you should order faders. I just had somebody order 100 faders because although Alps will still sell them, you won't be able to get them through. You'll be able to buy your faders through Alps. Go directly to Alps. So
I just emailed
that's how you'll get it.
This morning to you.
Say that again.
I just emailed you about some parts this morning.
Oh, I didn't see it.
It looks like an Avid console that you're sitting next to. Yeah.
It's actually not for this. It's for the one on stage, but I need some parts.
We have them all. But this is not a sales. This is not a sales thing. This is more of an informational. So we're informating. So, in a few minutes from now, I will be leaving, going to the airport, and heading towards points known of in Thailand, and I am very looking forward to it. It's definitely going to be an adventure, for sure. As some of you know, I've traveled all over the world many, many times. And no matter where I am, nobody knows where I am except for those videos that I put up. Hi, welcome to SoundBroker.com, the name to trust, blah, blah, blah. Hey, thanks for putting me here, and I'll be making more of those videos. But it's an interesting thing traveling around right now with COVID in the air. And, the risk is a little bit more intense than it was ever before. Usually I just had to worry about being knocked over the head or kidnapped for ransom or dragged to an ATM machine to empty my bank accounts, but this time, I have some other things on my mind where I have to be super careful. And so,
So is that a direct flight or do you have a layover somewhere?
Direct flight. It's going to take me 3 days to get there.
Tell us about your routing. Where's your routing through?
A routing from Las Vegas to Dallas on American Airlines. Then I switch over to Qatar Airlines, where we go into Doha, And then from Doha, there's a 6-hour layover. Well, I hear the airport in Doha. Has anybody here been to the airport in Doha? Well, I'll report back. I hear it's a sensational airport. I hear it's super sensational.
Is that a country, Doha? I don't even know what Doha is.
It's in Qatar, I believe.
And
Does
Qatar
anybody
is a
know where
country?
that is? Does anybody want to validate that?
No, I know
The country
nothing.
that Doha is in. I believe it's Qatar. See it, I'm flying Qatar Airlines. And that's spelled, it's unusual when you have a word with a Q that doesn't have a U after the Q, because we've been so built up.
Isn't that airport in Qatar?
That's
Well,
how you pronounce
yes.
it, though, is Qatar. Qatar is Qatar. Is that it, Jan? Is
No,
that what you're
that's
trying to
correct.
tell us?
It's Qatar.
It's Qatar.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It's not Qatar.
Well, there you go. I don't
I
even
thought
know
No
where
wonder
I'm
why I
going.
didn't know where it was.
Yeah, I was like,
Qatar with a
Qatar.
Q.
No U after the Q, though.
And now
Yeah,
Cuddy
but-
Sark or something.
No, it's Qatar. It's
Wait
outside
a
there, right
second.
outside
Somebody
of the
Google
United
this, please.
No, I've heard it pronounced both ways. Pronounced both ways.
That's because
Right.
you're not Arabic, but it's Qatar.
I
Qatar,
thought
well,
I thought that
that's easy
people
to
told
remember.
I thought that people told me when they went there that was how they pronounced it there. So you're going east to get to there, huh?
Yeah, because because I can't fly through Bangkok. So normally the normal way to go to Asia would be through Hong Kong. You go either to South Korea, or you go to ICN, or you go to Hong Kong. But in this case, I can't go from Hong Kong to Bangkok, and there is no flights from Hong Kong to Phuket. So I have to go through Qatar or Qatar. to get there.
Qatar. It's like a G in their language. It's Qatar.
Yeah,
Like
but there's no U after
G-I-T-A-R.
it, Tina. So
Yeah, no, it's because it's Arabic, but that's the correct pronunciation is Qatar.
Well, I hope nobody from Qatar hears me saying it. Well, Qatar. Otherwise, they might give me a hard time when I get there. They might
I
not
could have
let
sworn
me
my
shop in the
friend
gift shop.
Ryan travels all over the world. I could have sworn he said that's how they pronounce it there is Qatar. So you're pretty sure though, Tina, huh?
No, it's Qatar. It's K-A-H and then T-E-R. It's Qatar.
Well, I'll
okay.
tell you what.
In
next
Arabic,
week,
when they pronounce it, it's guitar.
I'll tell you what. Next week, when I have been there, I will come back and confirm the correct pronunciation, and if it has two pronunciations, I after E, except after C, that kind of stuff, Q, U after Q, except if it's guitar, that's what can I say? And with that, let's open the room up. If there's anybody else that has anything else they want to say, now would be the time before we say goodbye and wish you all the best. Does anybody have anything they want to share? Well, let me call on my friend Steve Sluter before we go, because he hasn't said two words, and
Yeah.
I want to find out what's going on in New Orleans.
Between the dog and the granddaughter, I've been a little occupied here. Just finished my boot camp fishing trip for the last 5 days. We got rained out yesterday. We didn't get to fish, but we fished for 4 days. And we had about 121 fish that were keepers over the 4 days. So that was good. Bad news is one of the guys that works for me, his wife works for the big health center here, and the death rate has tripled here. I don't know how recent that was, but and how many people, when they say it was tripled, I mean, it could have been one person. Now they had 3. I don't know. Didn't get into all that. And we're staying busy. Work's coming in. So that's a good thing.
That is a good thing. That is a good thing. Jack, is there anything you want to share with people that that you haven't brought up yet?
Yeah, nothing else news to report.
Josh, what about you? Anything?
Not much. I don't have anything major going on until September when we have the Ryder Cup, and that's going to be a full 2-week event.
Josh, you still working your food service gig?
No, I've been out of there for over a month. Apparently,
Oh,
they
good
don't.
for you.
The
Good to hear it.
Companies don't like it when you find out they do illegal stuff and you threaten to turn them in, and they don't like that, so they suspend you. And I said, yeah, I'm not coming back.
Oh,
Well,
that's too
thanks
bad.
to you, Jack. Thanks to you, I've been eating chicken sandwiches too much, so that's all I could say.
Well,
But
you know,
with
up
that
here
in
right
mind-
now, the big thing is Chick-fil-A and Wendy's, because the Bucks won last night, and our star player Gannis has been going through the drive-throughs and with the trophies and just getting free food all over the place. So it's been
Well, congratulations.
He's had the trophies in his passenger seat, and as soon as people recognize him, they're just like giving him free food.
Well, congratulations.
Nice. That's very cool.
You know, what is it?
So just curious, Josh, are you
Fear
talking
the
about
deer, eh?
labor stuff that they were doing that was wrong, or other stuff besides labor
just
stuff?
other stuff. Not
Okay.
so much labor stuff. It's stuff that the store manager and a couple other managers were doing that I called them out on, and they didn't like it, and just said, yeah, I'm done. I mean,
Good for you.
all the crew I hired in the last 9 months has pretty much walked out and quit or are walking out and putting their notice in and have found other jobs. It's not the same anymore.
How about
that?
that?
And getting back to that labor thing, no one wants to work there because it's like, they get treated. Even when I was there, we'd have customers come through and know we were short staffed and just treat us like crap, rude to us. Why aren't you going faster? Blah, 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 just being really rude. And then you'd others go, hey, take your time. We understand you're short staffed. So, I mean, it's just, but that's everywhere. I mean, every place I've gone, I've always like.
I assume you saw the news report about the Burger King, where the staff actually put a sorry for the delay sign up because they all quit, or something like that. Did you see that? In other words, how the signs are changeable letters every day, so they put up a sign that said something like "Sorry for the delay, we all quit."
Yep.
The reality is that after being off work for how many ever months various people have been off work, now that everyone has a is now hiring sign in their window, if you don't like your job, you can be employed somewhere else in 24 hours. And there are people who are not afraid to use that. I mean, if you're leaving from one crap job to another, why do you care? The pay rate's basically the same. But what a lot of people figured out, me included in the last 18 months, is that there are very few industries that ask as much physically, emotionally, or professionally as does entertainment technology. I have never worked in an industry where I have felt more used than this one. And that's why I'm surprised I'm still in it 40 years later. It's probably because I can't do anything else and I'm too old to learn new tricks. But the reality is that most people are no longer going to tolerate a job they do not like for whatever reason, whether it's real or not, whether or not there's unemployment money or not. There are people who are quitting now in states that don't have extended unemployment benefits. So it's not like they're cashing in. They're getting their $170 a week in Florida, but they're quitting. And that's because people finally decided that their personality, their emotions, and their personal sense of self should not be defined by the shit job they're being forced to do.
And do you think they all decided that as a society, sort of because we were given sort of a timeout and we got a chance to think about it? Is that why that
when you get a dose of reality and figure out what you've been missing, when you're the assistant manager at some at a food service establishment, you're working every holiday. You're not going to be with your family. You're not going to be around your kids. You're not going to be around your grandkids. You're going to be there serving food to people who really would rather be somewhere else. And that's not satisfying for anybody. But when people finally figured out that they've been used and abused, I was really expecting to see unionism come back, and it might yet. But apparently, people have to be abused a whole lot more before they understand the power of collective bargaining. But no, there's no reason people have to put up with crap jobs, and they won't now. End of story. Whether there's benefits there or not, they're not going to do it. They realize what they've missed. And they realize that much of what they have missed cannot be replaced. And some of it can't even be replaced with money. And if that's the case, if it's not fungible, if it can't be replaced with money, they're out.
Wow. It's just interesting that it's happened en masse, a lot
because
of people.
Everybody right now is finally realized that you can change. That change is okay. Everything is changed. And once you realize that, you realize your place in the whole thing. And to Tim's point, it's absolutely right. Why work for a crappy manager at Burger King? Where can you work for a not crappy at McDonald's? And you realize that, and you realize, I can change, and it's not going to be the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like the nun leaning over you saying this is going to be on your permanent record. Who cares? Who gives a damn?
I did. It was on my permanent record.
And you still have the bruises on your knuckles from that ruler too.
Damn right I do.
That's it.
What do you think 12 years of Catholic education did to me?
That's funny. And I thought you were a boxer when I saw that. I thought you were a boxer, you know? You know, every blow that, you know, that hits you. Anyway, it's wonderful to talk to you guys. You know, the things that I've learned this, you know, going to Thailand is that it just reinforces that the only thing we're in control of is how we react to what happens to us. There's nothing else we can do. And the one thing that's constant is change. That's the only thing that seems to be constant. And, you know, look, it's how you look at it. The glass is either half empty or half full, but it all depends on how you look at it, you know, and, you know, if you're thirsty, you know, drink up. That's all I can say. We're very fortunate. Every one of us in this room, we're very fortunate that we love what we do. And that's why we do it. You know, if we didn't, we would be working for, you know, something else, Lowe's or Home Depot or Radio Shack's no longer there, T-Mobile, but there's, you know, there's lots of jobs to choose from right now because there are plenty of jobs open because people have left them. You know, it's, you know, it's almost like, you know, you look at some girl and you think about, wow, you know, some guy left her behind because she did him wrong, you know? And so, you know, you're hoping that you're not the one that she does wrong the next time. You know, that's what it is. You know, everybody wants what it is they want. And when they find it, maybe that's not really what you've been looking for, you know? So with that in mind, I want to thank everybody for watching. We're going to say goodbye to those people on YouTube and Facebook. And just remember, we're going to be here next week at 3:00 Las Vegas time, 6:00 East Coast time. And, you know, please feel free to join us. That's all I could say.
What time is it going to be in Thailand?
5:00 in the morning.
Okay.
So remember, stay safe, wear a mask, get vaccinated. You make it happen. And, you know, if there's anything else I'm missing, anybody else have anything I'm missing? Want to say? That's it. All right, we'll be around. We'll be talking about you guys on YouTube and Facebook right here in this room. And by the way, there are people watching these episodes, and I really want to thank you for watching them and participating. You can participate. Just send me an email at SoundBroker@gmail.com if you want. We'll send you the link. Other than that, remember, you make it happen.